Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk about something deeply personal. We've all been there at one point or another where someone we care about, someone who once showered us with love and attention, suddenly starts pulling away, leaving us in confusion and doubt. It's a painful, raw experience, but I want to remind you of something crucial. Your worth is never defined by the attention of another person. When someone starts to ignore you, it can feel like a mirror is being held up to your vulnerabilities. The questions that arise, did I do something wrong? What did I miss? Are all too familiar. But here's the first truth I want you to understand. Your value is intrinsic. The love, care, and attention you seek from someone else should not become the measure of your self-worth. You are enough with or without their validation. In moments like this, it's tempting to build walls. We want to protect ourselves from the sting, so we close off. But I want to invite you to do something different. Your worth is not something that can be given to you, nor can it be taken away. It isn't tethered to someone else's attention, affection, or approval. This is a truth that can feel impossible to grasp when you're in the middle of being ignored, when someone you care deeply about suddenly starts pulling away. In those moments, it's easy to spiral into self-doubt, to question your value and wonder what you did wrong. You replay conversations, analyze interactions, and second-guess yourself at every turn. It feels personal, deeply personal, as though their withdrawal is a direct reflection of your inadequacy. But here's the reality: the way someone else treats you says far more about them than it does about you. Your worth is not contingent on their behavior. It exists independent of anyone's ability to see or affirm it. This isn't to say it won't hurt. It will. When someone you care for begins to pull back, there's an ache that forms, one that whispers lies like you're not enough, you're not lovable, or you've failed. These thoughts come uninvited and they can feel real, but that's all they are, thoughts. They are not the truth. You are not less worthy because someone else cannot see you clearly, or because their attention has wavered. You are not unlovable because someone has chosen, for reasons that may have nothing to do with you, to create distance. People's actions toward you are shaped by their own struggles, their own fears, and their own emotional limitations. We are all, at times, fighting battles we don't talk about. When someone's behavior shifts, when they withdraw, it often has everything to do with what's happening inside them, and nothing to do with you. Remember this: you are not responsible for fixing or explaining someone else's behavior. Your responsibility is to yourself. It's to protect and honor your sense of worth, especially when it feels threatened. Your worth is rooted in who you are, your compassion, your strength, your dreams, and your ability to love. It is in the way you show up for others, and, most importantly, in how you show up for yourself. When someone starts to pull away, don't abandon yourself in the process. This is where the real work begins. Lean into the discomfort and remind yourself that you are whole, you are enough, and you deserve to be loved without conditions or confusion. There's tremendous power in embracing your worth during moments when it feels most under attack. You are saying to yourself and to the world, I will not shrink to fit someone else's uncertainty. You are choosing to stand tall, even when the ground beneath you feels unsteady. You are acknowledging that true love is not something you have to chase or beg for. It will not require you to prove yourself or compromise who you are. Someone's inability to give you what you deserve does not diminish your value. It does not make you less worthy of love, respect, or connection. Let this be the moment you reclaim your power. Let this be the moment you stop seeking your reflection in someone else's eyes and start seeing yourself as you truly are enough, whole, and worthy. No one has the authority to decide your value, not even the person you care for most. Their love is a gift, yes, but it is not the foundation of your identity. You are more than what they give, more than their words, and far more than their silence. Your worth is yours alone, and no one can touch it. When you embrace that, you set yourself free. Vulnerability is often misunderstood. We see it as weakness, as something to hide or avoid at all costs, especially when someone we care about begins to pull away or ignore us. In moments like these, it feels safer to armor up, to shut down, and to pretend that we don't care. We convince ourselves that if we build walls high enough and strong enough, we can protect ourselves from the pain of rejection, uncertainty, or loss. But the truth is, avoiding vulnerability doesn't protect us, it isolates us. It cuts us off from the very emotions and experiences that make us fully human and fully alive. Vulnerability isn't the enemy, it's where courage, growth, and healing begin. When someone you love suddenly starts ignoring you, it triggers a primal response. You feel exposed, raw, and rejected. Your mind races with questions. Why are they doing this? What did I do wrong? Don't they care about me anymore? These thoughts, while painful, are a reflection of the deep emotional connection you've allowed yourself to build. Vulnerability made that connection possible. And while it hurts to feel that connection fraying, avoiding the feelings won't make them go away. It's in these moments that vulnerability becomes an opportunity, a chance to face your emotions head on, to learn from them, and to grow stronger. Leaning into vulnerability means allowing yourself to feel the hurt without running from it. It's sitting with the discomfort, the sadness, and the uncertainty, and choosing not to numb yourself or lash out in response. It's having the courage to admit that you care deeply, that you're hurt, and that this situation matters to you. This is not weakness. This is strength. It's easy to shut down, to harden yourself and pretend you don't care. But there's no growth in that. There's no healing in hiding. When you choose to be vulnerable, to face the pain, and to acknowledge your feelings, you take back control of your emotional story. You honor yourself by showing up fully, even when it's uncomfortable. Vulnerability is also a path to connection. While it may feel like the person ignoring you is shutting you out, your vulnerability allows you to remain open to them, to others, and to yourself. It reminds you that your capacity to feel deeply is not something to be ashamed of. It's a gift. To love someone, to care, and to be affected by their actions means you are alive, engaged, and human. Vulnerability means you are brave enough to let your guard down, even knowing that it might hurt. It's in this space that you learn the most about yourself, what you value, what you need, and what you're capable of. Recognizing the power of vulnerability also means accepting that you can't control others. You can't make someone love you, explain themselves, or give you the closure you crave. But you can control how you respond to their actions. You can choose vulnerability over bitterness, openness over resentment, and growth over avoidance. By acknowledging your feelings instead of suppressing them, you give yourself the freedom to process, heal, and move forward with integrity. Vulnerability is not about being fragile or powerless. It's about being honest, authentic, and courageous enough to face your pain without running away from it. It's in those moments of raw honesty that you find clarity, strength, and resilience. It's where you remember that your worth is not diminished by someone else's inability to show up for you. You can't always control what happens to you, but you can control how you show up in the face of it. Vulnerability is the key to reclaiming that power and turning pain into growth. It is the most human thing you can do to feel deeply, to risk connection, and to remain open even when it hurts. And in that openness, you will discover a strength you didn't know you had. Relationships are some of the most beautiful and complicated parts of being human. They are not linear, predictable, or simple. Each one is shaped by the unique experiences, emotions, and struggles of the people involved. When someone you love and care about suddenly begins to pull away or ignore you, it's natural to feel blindsided, hurt, or confused. You might find yourself looking for a single, straightforward explanation to make sense of what's happening. But relationships rarely operate within the confines of simple answers. They are layered and nuanced, built on shared moments, unspoken emotions, and personal histories that we sometimes can't fully see or understand. It's important to acknowledge that people are not perfect. We carry fears, insecurities, and wounds, many of which we may not even be aware of. Sometimes, when someone begins to ignore you or create distance, it has less to do with you and more to do with what's happening within them. They may be struggling with something they're not ready to talk about. They may be overwhelmed, uncertain, or afraid of intimacy. The emotional complexity of relationships means that people don't always show up as the best version of themselves, even when they care deeply about you. Their withdrawal may feel personal, but it might stem from battles they are fighting silently. This is not an excuse for hurtful behavior, but an acknowledgement of how complex and imperfect human connections can be. Your own feelings in this situation are valid. It's okay to feel disappointed, hurt, or angry. It's okay to want clarity or to wish things were different. The complexity of relationships means that two truths can exist at once. You can care about someone deeply and still feel let down by them. You can understand that their behavior may be shaped by their own struggles and still hold space for your own pain. Relationships are not black and white, and neither are the emotions we experience within them. Learning to hold this duality is part of navigating the human experience with grace and compassion. It's also important to recognize that relationships require effort from both sides. Love, respect, and trust are built through mutual care, understanding, and communication. If someone begins to pull away, it does not mean you are unworthy of love or that you are to blame. Sometimes relationships shift because people grow in different directions, or because they are not ready for the depth of connection that you are offering. This can be painful to accept, but it is part of honoring the complexity of relationships. It's about recognizing that love, while powerful, does not always guarantee consistency, clarity, or permanence. When faced with the uncertainty of someone's withdrawal, it's tempting to oversimplify things, to assign blame, to chase answers, or to assume you could have prevented it. But relationships are rarely that clear-cut. They are made up of two whole, imperfect people navigating their own internal worlds while trying to connect with one another. Sometimes those worlds align beautifully, and sometimes they don't. Acknowledging this complexity doesn't mean dismissing your feelings or minimizing the hurt. It means understanding that relationships, like people, are dynamic. They can shift, change, and challenge you in ways that force you to grow. This growth comes from accepting what you can and cannot control. You cannot force someone to communicate, stay, or offer the emotional presence you deserve. What you can do is respond to the situation with clarity, compassion, and self-respect. You can choose to honor the relationship for what it has taught you while recognizing its limitations. You can appreciate the beauty of what once was, even as you grieve its changes. In acknowledging the complexity of relationships, you open yourself up to understanding, healing, and eventually deeper connections that reflect the love and care you are worthy of. Letting go of control is one of the hardest lessons we face, especially when it comes to relationships and the people we care about. The natural instinct when someone we love starts ignoring us or pulling away is to tighten our grip. We want answers, explanations, and reassurance. We try to manage the situation, to fix what feels broken, or to convince them to stay. This desire to control comes from a place of fear, the fear of uncertainty, rejection, or loss. We believe that if we can just say the right thing, do the right thing, or understand what went wrong, we can change the outcome. But the truth is, control is an illusion. You cannot control other people, their choices, their actions, or their feelings. You can only control yourself, and that realization, while difficult, can set you free. When you try to control someone else's behavior, you give away your power. You tie your sense of worth and peace to their responses, their decisions, and their presence. If they pull away, you may feel like you failed or that you're not enough. But letting go of control means recognizing that someone else's actions are not a reflection of you. You are not responsible for fixing someone changing their mind or keeping them close. Their behavior, no matter how painful, belongs to them, just as your responses and emotions belong to you. Releasing the need to control allows you to step back and see the situation for what it truly is: an opportunity to focus on yourself, your growth, and your healing. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you give up on love, connection, or understanding. It means you accept that some things are beyond your reach. You cannot force someone to communicate with you or to show up in the way you want them to. You cannot make them offer the love, attention, or closure you may desperately crave. And trying to do so only leads to more pain and frustration, because you are pouring energy into something you cannot change. By letting go of that need to control, you make space for peace. You release yourself from the exhausting cycle of overthinking, chasing, and questioning. You allow yourself to focus on what is within your control: how you respond, how you take care of yourself, and how you move forward. The truth is, there is great freedom in surrender. When you stop gripping so tightly, you begin to trust that what is meant for you will stay, and what is not will leave. Letting go doesn't mean you don't value the relationship or the person. It means you value yourself enough to not cling to something that is no longer serving you. It's an act of courage to step back and allow things to unfold naturally, even when you don't know what the outcome will be. It requires faith in yourself, in the process, and in the belief that you are capable of handling whatever comes next. Letting go of control also allows you to reclaim your power. Instead of placing your happiness and peace in someone else's hands, you bring it back to yourself. You learn to trust your own strength, to rely on your own ability to heal, and to believe that you are whole on your own. You begin to see that you don't need someone else's behavior to validate your worth. You are enough, regardless of what they choose to do or not do. By releasing control, you give yourself permission to live fully, to embrace life as it is, not as you wish it to be. Letting go is not about losing something, it's about finding yourself. It's about stepping out of the struggle and allowing life to flow. It's about realizing that you can face uncertainty and still be okay. You can experience love, loss, and everything in between and still come out stronger, wiser, and more at peace. Letting go of control isn't about weakness or defeat. It's about freedom, self-trust, and the courage to move forward with an open heart, no matter what lies ahead. Forgiving yourself for seeking validation is one of the most liberating and necessary steps in healing and self-growth. It's human nature to want to be seen, loved, and affirmed. We crave connection, understanding, and the feeling that we matter to someone. This desire is not a weakness, it's a reflection of our humanity. Yet, when someone we love suddenly begins to ignore us, or when we feel unseen or unappreciated, it's easy to judge ourselves harshly for wanting their attention. We tell ourselves we're being too needy or too dependent. We feel embarrassed for wanting validation, as though it makes us fragile or unworthy. But here's the truth: seeking validation doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. The need to be loved and accepted is woven into the fabric of who we are, and forgiving yourself for this desire is where healing begins. We live in a world that often glorifies independence and self-sufficiency to the point of dismissing our emotional needs. We're told we shouldn't care what others think, that we should be strong enough to stand alone. While independence is powerful, it doesn't erase the fact that humans are hardwired for connection. Seeking validation, wanting to feel seen and valued, is a normal part of life. It only becomes harmful when we attach our self-worth entirely to someone else's opinions, actions, or attention. Forgiving yourself for this need means recognizing that it comes from a place of wanting to feel loved, included, and understood, which are all deeply human desires. It doesn't make you less than, it makes you whole. When you find yourself longing for validation, it's important to be gentle with yourself. Instead of judging or shaming yourself for caring too much, pause and ask, what am I truly seeking here? Often the desire for external validation comes from an internal need for reassurance. You may be seeking someone else's love because it feels like it fills a gap within you, a gap created by self-doubt, fear, or insecurity. Forgiving yourself for this need means offering yourself compassion and acknowledging that it's okay to feel uncertain sometimes. You are allowed to want love, attention, and connection without making it a reflection of your worth. You are not weak for needing others. You are brave for showing up with an open heart. Forgiving yourself also means understanding that you are not alone in this. Everyone at some point has looked outside themselves for validation. It's part of being human. What matters is recognizing when this need is overshadowing your own sense of self-worth and gently bringing it back to center. External validation can feel good, but it is not a foundation that will hold you. You must learn to give yourself the love and reassurance you seek from others. This is not about shutting people out or pretending you don't care. It's about meeting your own needs first, so that you're not dependent on someone else to tell you that you're enough. Forgiving yourself for seeking validation is a practice of self-acceptance. It's choosing to let go of the guilt and shame you feel for wanting someone else's attention. It's about understanding that this desire doesn't make you flawed, it makes you human. And in that humanity, there is room for growth. When you release the judgment you place on yourself, you create space to build a deeper, healthier relationship with who you are. You learn to see your own worth clearly without waiting for someone else to mirror it back to you. You begin to trust that you are valuable and lovable, not because someone else says so, but because it is simply the truth of who you are. The journey of forgiving yourself for seeking validation is not about becoming invulnerable. It's about embracing your humanity and realizing that you have the power to love and validate yourself, regardless of what others do or don't offer. You can honor your need for connection without letting it define you. You can learn to hold yourself with compassion and strength, knowing that the validation you seek already lives within you. The more you forgive yourself, the more you free yourself to love and be loved, not because you need it, but because you choose it. Cultivating resilience is about learning to face life's challenges with courage, grace, and the belief that you are strong enough to endure and grow through whatever comes your way. When someone you care about suddenly ignores you or withdraws, it can feel like the ground has been pulled out from beneath you. The pain is real, the questions are overwhelming, and the uncertainty can be paralyzing. In these moments, resilience becomes your lifeline, not as a way to ignore the hurt, but as a way to move through it. Resilience is not about being unaffected by the pain or pretending that everything is fine. It's about feeling the discomfort, honoring it, and choosing to rise anyway. It's the ability to hold space for both your struggles and your strength, knowing that while life may not always go as planned, you have the power to navigate it. Resilience begins with acceptance, accepting that life is unpredictable, people are complex, and not everything will happen the way you hope. This is not the same as giving up. It's about letting go of the illusion of control and choosing to face reality as it is. You cannot control how someone else behaves, but you can control how you respond. When you accept this truth, you take the first step toward building resilience because you shift your focus inward. You stop pouring energy into trying to change things outside of your control and instead invest in yourself, your growth, your healing, and your peace. Resilience is built through self-compassion. When life feels heavy, it's easy to turn on yourself, to criticize your emotions, or to blame yourself for the way things have unfolded. But resilience requires you to treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a close friend. It means reminding yourself that it's okay to feel hurt, disappointed, or lost. These emotions don't make you weak, they are part of being human. Resilience grows when you allow yourself to feel deeply, without judgment, and then gently encourage yourself to keep moving forward. Resilience is also about learning to find meaning in your struggles. Pain can feel senseless in the moment, but as you navigate through it, you begin to see the ways it shapes and strengthens you. Each challenge you face, each heartbreak, setback, or disappointment teaches you something about yourself. It reveals your ability to endure, adapt, and grow. When you cultivate resilience, you begin to see challenges not as punishments, but as opportunities to deepen your understanding of who you are and what you're capable of. You learn that your pain does not define you. What defines you is how you respond to it, how you rise despite it, and how you choose to move forward with courage. Resilience also requires perspective. When someone hurts you or ignores you, it's easy to let the situation consume your entire world. But resilience teaches you to zoom out and see the bigger picture. You remind yourself that this moment, as painful as it may be, is not the end of your story. You have survived difficult things before, and you will survive this too. Life is filled with highs and lows, and this is just one chapter. Resilience allows you to trust that there are better days ahead, even if you can't see them yet. Cultivating resilience is about action. It's the small steps you take every day to care for yourself, to rebuild, and to move forward. It's reaching out for support when you need it, finding healthy ways to process your emotions, and reminding yourself of your own strength. Resilience is a practice. It's not something you're born with, but something you build moment by moment as you face life's challenges. Each time you choose to show up, to keep going, and to believe in your own ability to heal, you strengthen the foundation of your resilience. Resilience is not about avoiding pain. It's about finding your way through it. It's about trusting that no matter how difficult things may feel right now, you have the strength within you to rise again. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you respond, by the courage you show, the grace you offer yourself, and the determination to keep moving forward, one step at a time. Honoring your emotions is a vital part of understanding yourself and healing, especially when you're navigating the pain of someone you love pulling away or ignoring you. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the flood of emotions that comes with such experiences. Sadness, confusion, anger, and even shame can take hold and make you feel like you're drowning. In these moments, it's important to give yourself permission to feel everything fully, without judgment. Suppressing or denying your emotions will not make them disappear. It will only cause them to linger, buried beneath the surface, waiting for an opportunity to resurface. By allowing yourself to feel, you validate your own experience and recognize that your emotions are real, natural, and a part of being human. They don't make you weak, they make you alive. While honoring your emotions is necessary, it's equally important not to let them define you. You are not your sadness, your anger, or your pain. These feelings may be a part of your experience, but they are not the entirety of who you are. When you allow emotions to consume you completely, they can cloud your perspective and take over your sense of identity. You begin to feel as though you are the heartbreak, as though you are the rejection, and this can hold you back from seeing the bigger picture of your life. Feelings are temporary. They are like waves that come and go, sometimes gently, sometimes forcefully, but they are not permanent states of being. Reminding yourself of this truth is essential in navigating difficult emotions with strength and grace. To honor your emotions without letting them define you, you must first meet them with curiosity rather than resistance. Ask yourself, what is this emotion telling me? What can I learn from it? Emotions, even the painful ones, have something to teach us. Sadness might show you how deeply you care, while anger can signal that your boundaries have been crossed. Loneliness may point you back to the importance of reconnecting with yourself. By observing your emotions in this way, you begin to see them as messengers rather than burdens. You allow them to move through you instead of taking up permanent residence. You can choose how you respond to your emotions. While you may not be able to control what you feel in any given moment, you do have the power to decide what you do with those feelings. You can honor your sadness without letting it paralyze you. You can acknowledge your anger without letting it lead you to destructive actions. You can feel disappointment without losing hope for the future. This balance, feeling fully while responding intentionally, is where true strength lies. It allows you to remain rooted in your values and your sense of self, no matter what emotions arise. When you begin to separate your emotions from your identity, you realize that feelings, as intense as they may be, do not determine your worth or define your future. They are part of the story, but they are not the story itself. You are bigger than your heartbreak, stronger than your pain, and more resilient than you may believe. Allowing yourself to feel while choosing not to be consumed by those feelings is an act of self-respect and self-compassion. It's a reminder that you are in control of your own narrative, and that no single moment or emotion has the power to define you unless you allow it to. Honoring your emotions means showing up for yourself, acknowledging your hurt, your fear, and your frustration, but also reminding yourself that you are so much more. You are capable of healing, of finding joy again, and of moving forward with clarity and strength. Your emotions are valid, but they do not hold the pen to your story. You do. And when you choose to honor your feelings without being ruled by them, you reclaim your power and your freedom.